YouTube! My name is Gabriella and I'm going to be going over my November reads. I have my notebook here. After I finish a book, I like to write down my notes, my review, my rating, and then if I would buy it. For the month of November, I read 6 books, which is pretty good because I started in the middle of November. So I first started reading The Life of Chuck by Stephen King. I gave this book a 7 out of 10. And so I wrote here, I like this book. Made me think more about the perception of the world and life. And so I liked that there was like this line where it's like, I contain multitudes. And like, you do. You do contain multitudes. I read the book with my husband. Basically, he was like, let's do a 2-person book club. We went to our local library and we were just looking for books that had 2 of them. And so a lot of Stephen King books had duplicates. Started with The Life of Chuck. We read it together and then we watched the movie. I had much more of an appreciation for the movie because we read the book. But I think ultimately, I kind of liked the movie more. The book kind of is told backwards. It's all about Chuck and his life. We see him in his like adulthood, then we get to see him like teenage years or whatever, and then when he was like younger growing up. Would I buy this book? No, I don't think I. The next book that I read was Gwendy's Button Box. So Gwendy's Button Box, I gave a 6 out of 10. And so I liked the book, but I didn't think it was, like, all that. It was a good read, don't get me wrong. But, like, I enjoyed The Life of Chuck more because it kind of just made me, like, ponder. I wrote here in my little notes. It did not make me think deeply, so I give it 6 out of 10. Not that books have to make you think deeply. It goes over Gwendy. We get to see her, she basically meets this man in a park, this older guy, and he gives her a box with buttons. Hence, Gwendy's Button Box. Crazy. So he tells her that the buttons on this box, one color button is for Asia, another one for Africa, another one for South America, and then there is a red button and a black button. She asks, what do the buttons do? And bro's like, you know it. I guess we do. The box also has like another lever and like a little compartment and stuff, and so she can get little chocolates out of it. It also gives her $50 coins, but like the rare ones that are worth like hundreds of dollars. She gets this box, and the box kind of like affects her life. And so you get to see in the ways the box influences her and her life and the decisions and the people around her and that kind of thing. It's a good book, but like it's not a great book. Would I buy this book? No, I don't think I would. The next book that I read, Under the Eye of the Big Bird. And so I wrote my little entry here. I gave it an 8 out of 10, but this book is like confusing. If you decide to read this book, it's by Hiromi Kawakami. And if you decide to read this book, she's weird. She's kind of weird, and she's also like not consistent in like a good way. Story jumps around and it goes from different POV to different POV, but it doesn't like state that it's going from a different POV to POV. So this book goes into the future of like humanity. There is like extinction level things that were happening, and now we're at a point where humanity cannot survive on its own. Humans are now basically clones. Have like these mothers who raise the clone. The clones are there to give birth and try to repopulate the world. And then there's different groups of people who have different like jobs essentially. There's people who go out and search other communities. That might not be the best description. What did I write here? I wrote, it was hard to read at first because it jumps around and doesn't always state when it's a new character, but I like this a lot because it made me think about humanity. What makes human a human? If something looks different, but shares 99% of the same DNA, is it still a human? Even if it's completely human-like, but they just have one feature that's different, do we still perceive them as being like us? But I buy this book. I wrote here, yeah, I would buy this book. It was the type of thing where I'm confused, but like I'm intrigued. When they talked about things at the end, it kind of tied back into the very beginning of the book, and I was like, okay. I like this book. I like this book. Our 4th book that we read this month is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. So I gave this book an 8.5 out of 10. You can probably see it. I ended up getting the deluxe version because it's such a good book. Follow one main character. His name is Darrow. There is a social hierarchy. Golds are the very top and the reds are the very bottom. Darrow works his way as a red to kind of like infiltrate the gold. He gets his way into gold and now he is like a red in disguise. Reds are treated as slaves. This all takes place on the planet of Mars. They work like in the ground. They're basically mining, they're getting all the resources for everything. You definitely should read this book though. It is so good. There's about, I think there's like 7 books total. I've only read the first 3, but I did really love Red Rising. Would I buy this book? I literally did. The next book that I read was Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. And I Oh, I loved this book. This is my favorite book that I read for November. There's Yumi, and then there is The Painter. So it's a boy and a girl. This is a romantasy, but it's like a romantasy that's no spice. It's like a K-drama or like a slice of life anime. Very much like they're into each other, they like each other, but like they're not saying it to each other, and then it's like the big climax is like them holding hands. They are from two different worlds. Basically, the nightmare painter, he lives in this world where it's completely enshrouded by darkness. There are these nightmares that come from the shrouds of darkness, and basically they go into people's homes and they like feed off of like the people's nightmares, or they give them nightmares. His job as the nightmare painter is that he's able to paint paintings and ward off these nightmares or like get rid of them. And so Yumi, she is the Yokihijo. She basically has like the spiritual connection with the spirits, and she goes around to different towns and she stacks rocks in a meticulous way, and all these spirits will gather around her and they will watch her stack these rocks. And then she's able to use those spirits. Ask the people of the towns, like, what are things they need? So, like, maybe it's like, oh, my crops are dry. I need a sprinkler system. So she'll ask the spirits, she'll say, like, can you be a sprinkler system for these people? And then the spirit's like, since you were so cracked at that rock stacking, yeah, somehow they get interlinked with each other. They, like, travel to each other's world. And what can they do to, like, end this? They need to go back to their own lives. The story is so good. This was my first Brandon Sanderson book, and I think it was a great one for me to read. If you haven't read this book, I really recommend it, especially if you like slice of life anime. I think it's really good. It's really good. I buy this book 100%. Yes, this was my favorite read for November. I really do want to get it, but it's like $55. And so I'm gonna wait for next month. My budget resets and everything. My last book that I read for November was Golden Sun. So this is book 2 in the Red Rising series. I really like this book. Out of the base trilogy, this one was my favorite. But I give it 8.75 out of 10. This book continues on with Darrow. He's there with the Golds. He's how do I explain? There's like love interest, there's betrayal, there's like a lot of like kind of like cutthroat moments where you're like, huh? Why did he do that? Or like, huh? He said that. Like, why did he tell her that? Why did he tell? Because now she don't. I really didn't write much on here. I said, this book went crazy. And would I buy this book? Yes, I would 100% buy this book. It was so good. So good. Like I said, out of the base 3 for the trilogy, this one was my favorite. And those are the books that I read for the month of November. I read 6 books. Just started getting into reading. And it's become my favorite hobby. Basically, I went out, I got myself a Kindle. It was actually 50% off at Target, but I had a clearance sticker. This bad boy was $55. And I had a gift card. So I ended up only spending like $12 on it. It is currently December 23rd. And so once we get into January, I'm going to film a what I read in December. So my goal for this month, December, is 5 books to read just because it's the holidays and everything. I also had like finals with schools. And so there was some time put away because I had to study for that. That was my November reads. Comment down below, what did you read in the month of November? What was your favorite read? Any recommendations that you guys have? Let me know. Thanks for watching.